Well, Razorback fans, Hunter Yurachek met with the Little Rock Touchdown Club yesterday and had some interesting things to say, especially dealing with NIL, dealing with the future of Razorback athletics, and if they can win a championship in football. Let's just talk about that on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I'm also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday, as we're going to talk about a few things that Hunter Yurachek had to say yesterday, as well as Sam Pittman meeting with the media and talking about his secondary and defense and what went wrong against Ole Miss and why it's going to be fixed moving forward. But I was interested when I saw the schedule, just like I am always, about the Little Rock Touchdown Club and seeing who's going to be speaking there. David Basil does a great job with it all the time, so shout out to him. But anytime that Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director, is scheduled to speak, no matter what, I like to listen. I like to hear, because let's be honest, we don't get to hear from him very often, other than just some pretty canned scheduled tweets, maybe a few things here and there. It's nice to kind of have a open forum a little bit and hear what he has to say, especially given the circumstances of right now. Razorback football is sitting at 2-1, and people had concerns and still continue to have concerns about the future of football and NIL and revenue sharing and all of the uncertainty behind it. But one of the things that Hunter Yurachek brought up, which we'll bring up two things specifically, but one of the things I wanted to start off with is what keeps Arkansas from winning? What keeps them from winning a title, from getting to that next level, to doing a championship when it comes to football itself? What is keeping them from doing that? And I think it's just a matter of the time and also your opinion on what it looks like. I have always felt like, from the Arkansas football perspective, that no matter what happens, because of your in-state recruiting not being at a high level year in and year out as far as talent goes, as far as maybe not having all the amenities that some of the bigger schools like Georgia and Texas and LSU have, I think there's an acceptance of at least an understanding that, hey, for Arkansas to win a championship in football is pretty dadgum near impossible. Now, with the college football playoff expansion, that always opens up other schools for opportunities to jump in. Not to say that a team here soon would be a 9 seed in the college football playoff and suddenly win a championship, but it could happen. And usually it's just about having that puncher's chance. Arkansas, in the years that they were good over the past 20 years, think about the Bobby Petrino years or something like that. Were you the best team in the country? No, I mean, you weren't, because you didn't get to play in the championship. But if you were in the playoff, wouldn't you like to have seen what would have happened? Of course. That's just the way it is. That's the way it works. So it could open up that way. But Hunter Yurachek was talking about championships and talking about winning championships and what that would look like and what that would mean. And here's what he had to say as far as looking at those championships, especially in the three major sports.
Well, I will tell you that there's a big canyon within the SEC where we sit at a $181 million budget. And there's multiple schools that are over $300 million for their operating budget this year. That's within the same conference. But at the same time, I'll tell you, I know the focus is on football and we all want to win in football, but at the same time, those schools have been outspending us for the last decade, and we've still won more SEC championships among more sports than any school in the SEC. And so I think we're doing just fine at the University of Arkansas, and I think we're set up to win a national championship in men's basketball moving forward. We know we're set up to win a national championship in baseball moving forward, and I think we're set up in several other sports to win a national championship. Football, where we are right now, we're not set up to win a national championship. I'll just be brutally honest with that. But I think we're set up to compete really well in the Southeastern Conference, especially now with the new revenue sharing model.
Okay. I agree with Hunter Yurachek on a lot of things. And this is not just me coming after Hunter Yurachek for the sake of coming after him. I agree that basketball has that setup. I agree baseball has that setup. I agree that there's a lot of sports that have that setup. And I also agree that, as I said before, it'd be very difficult for Arkansas to win a national championship in football. However, I don't really want to hear that from my athletic director. What I want to hear from my athletic director is we have a plan in place, or here's how we can get there in order to make it to where we are set up to win a national championship. I said this months ago on this very podcast that some took and ran with, and saying that accepting of mediocrity is the mantra of stupid people and all of that nonsense. And I was kind of made out to be a little bit of a villain of everything, or almost looking at things stupidly, because I said I don't want anyone believing in average or in mediocrity in my athletic program. I don't want anyone settling for mediocrity. I want my athletic directors, I want my coaches, I want my administrators, I want everybody involved to believe that they can win a championship. And even if they can't believe, to lie to me about it, lie to the fans about it. Because what this tells me is simply what we've all known, and what I tried to tell so many people over the past few months, is that it is an acceptance of, hey, this is who we are in football and it's not going to get any better, so deal with it. That's the message that I feel is being put across right now. It'd be one thing if it was also seeing other schools in the SEC struggle with something like this. It would be one thing if I saw, everybody but Georgia, but LSU, but Texas having the same issues. And I think that there are many schools like Arkansas that are going through issues. Everybody is. Everybody's taking the hit. But that's the point, is that everybody is taking the hit. Yet I look at Arkansas as being the main one that's struggling in football. We're talking football right now. I love the fact that we're here at Arkansas so competitive and so good at all these other sports. That's great. I'm so excited. I'm going to root for them like crazy. But we all know that football is the most important. It's the money-driving, financially stable sport that keeps this whole thing afloat. And if you're just coming out and basically saying, hey, we're not set up for this, then my immediate response and my immediate feeling wants to be, okay, so how can we be? What do we need to do? Well, we'll talk some more about as far as obeying the rules of how college football is set up. But essentially what it came down to is financially. What Hunter Yurachek said, it's like financially just not set up. Okay, so how do we get there? Because from what I've seen is that Hunter Yurachek and the administration has been very anti-NIL, very anti-collective. They can't get the naming rights to the stadium sold. He even said that it was going to take another maybe year and a half, which, by the way, folks, a year and a half ago was when the stadium rights came open. So you're talking about possibly 3 years running without having naming rights sold to this stadium. Not to mention all the cuts that they've made right and left inside the administration. Not to mention the prices that they've raised across the board. Not to mention the lack of any sort of empathy or sympathy or any sort of help that they can give to the Razorback faithful who's been doing this for so long. There's not been any of those things. It's just been, here it is, sorry, whatever, what are we going to do? Like, how do you get people to buy into you, to buy into the football program, to buy into Sam Pittman? If it's simply being set up in the culture, because that's what it is. It's the culture over there at the U of A where it's like, we're just going to have to settle for this because we'll never compete at a high level. And I feel that way, and I almost feel bad in a roundabout way for Sam Pittman, because one of the things that I've gotten frustrated by was his constant about, getting to a bowl game and how much this means, and, we got to do this, and this is what we've got. And I kept thinking, like, what kind of coach speaks like this? I want my coach to feel like they can win a national championship, and yet I know where it's coming from. I know why Sam Pittman's saying those things. I know where he's coming from on it. It's because that's the culture that's been put over there at the University of Arkansas in the athletic department. Hey, Sam, you can't win here. You can't win at the high level, so you're just going to have to deal with it the way you have to deal with it. That's how it comes across. I just never would have dreamed in a million years I'd ever hear an athletic director of any school, of any major SEC school, mind you, say the words, "We are not set up for a championship." And then on top of that, Razorback fans witness Ole Miss, witness Missouri, freaking Vanderbilt now. School like South Carolina last year. These schools that they feel like they're on the same even playing field as, doesn't seem like they seem to be really struggling that much. Doesn't seem like they're just like shrugging their shoulders. What are you going to do? I mean, this is who we are. Sorry. It's such a defeatist attitude that I really don't like. And I don't know why we got to this point. And people were arguing with me on social media and on Twitter about, hey, give the guy a break. Or, hey, he's done a great job. Look at all these other sports. Cool. The sport that matters the most is football, and football, without question, has taken the biggest hit. Thank goodness for John Tyson and John Calipari. Thank goodness for Dave Van Horn doing things on his own instead of having to rely on the administration, because the administration has been trying to cut funding from Dave Van Horn for quite some time now. But Sam Pittman's just kind of stuck there. And so no wonder Sam feels this way. No wonder that's the case. I feel bad for the coaching staff. I feel bad for them because they've been pretty much set up for failure. Because the fans' expectations don't change. They shouldn't. You as a fan shouldn't be happy with average or mediocrity. But this coaching staff, in some way, whether it's directly spoken to or at least by the setup of their NIL and their collectives and their spending, of like, hey, you can only do as good as what you can do, so let's just hope for the best. But in the same breath, Hunter Yurachek says that, but I feel like we've done a good enough job to compete in the SEC. What? So wait, hold on a second. So you can't win a championship, but you say you're good enough to compete in the SEC. I feel like if you're good enough to compete in the SEC, shouldn't that be able to set you up into possibly winning a championship? I feel like it was very confusing. The point is that it comes down to messaging. I appreciate him being honest. And I don't think that Hunter Yurachek is awful at everything that he does as an athletic director like some people think I do. I don't. But I am just tired of this type of mentality. It's a mentality that you have to be able to, no matter if you're a coach, an AD, or whoever, to find a way to get to where you need to be to win a championship and to get people to help you do that. And if you have a plan in place, how do you get there? How do you get there financially? Is it simply the boosters? Is it the big donors? Is it the Razorback Foundation? Is it going and raising prices? Is it all just find some sort of plan that you can have people see and see the direction and then execute it. Because right now, it feels like that you're just fine being whatever. And that's not the football program that I grew up with. That's not the football program that I fell in love with. And that's not the football program I want to continue to watch and root for and spend money on and cover, if that's the case. I want to have people who want to win. And right now, I don't feel like I have that right now. Plain and simple. Another thing that Yurachek did talk about, though, was about the current state of revenue sharing and NIL and other schools doing certain things, but Arkansas not. I'll tell you what I mean. Stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can usually and actually pay off. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football being back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. And you just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it's the best way to follow along in football. Check your projections for all your players, whether it's Josh Allen for more or less than 270 yards passing or Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. You can make it happen. And the best part, even if your picks miss, Prize Picks invented the flex play so you can still double all of your money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 off in your lineups for your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. We talk about Hunter Yurachek and his coming out and saying that Now you just can't win a championship in the way it's set up right now for Razorback football. Which again, I don't like hearing that. And if you're going to say it, maybe say it in a way to where people can get on board and start understanding how you get to that point. Because before we move on to the next one, I know I've spent a lot of time talking about this, but it's also a matter of, people were saying like, hey, you got to have time. You got to have time. It's like you're getting lapped though. This thing has been going on for years. I mean, we remember Yurachek basically all but begging people a year ago at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, even saying, hey, $100 of your money to the Arkansas Edge, we can make a difference. Well, now it's not changed that anymore. Now it's not even that. It's not even been brought up that. Now they're doing the raffles and everything. It's like, if whatever you want to do it and hammer it and do whatever it takes to get to that point. If it's the Arkansas Edge, then you need to be hammering that every single day. That's what you need to do. But the problem is, at least to Hunter Yurachek, is that there are other schools that are not playing by the rules. That's how they're able to do what they do when it comes to NIL and revenue sharing. But Arkansas is not going to do that. Here's a clip of him at the Little Rock Touchdown Club talking about the different lanes of traffic that you want to be in and where Arkansas's lane actually is among SEC schools.
So let's all raise our hands. If you're driving down I-40 and the speed limit's 55, but you know there's not going to be a trooper out that day, how many are going 65? Right? That's what's happening in college athletics right now. And so you have to decide as an athletic director, are you going to get out in this lane that you know you're not supposed to be in and operate without the highest level of integrity, or do you want to stay in these two lanes? And that's where the rub is coming right now in college athletics. Until we get our enforcement agency up and running, you're going to continue to have schools operating in that third lane, and that's a bad place to be, in my opinion. It's bad for college athletics. And I don't want to operate there, but I think to be competitive, we may have to figure out what that third lane looks like for the University of Arkansas.
Okay, see, this was just one of the most absurd things I've ever heard. Pardon me if I want to be in the fast lane with everybody else. Pardon me if I see that there's the lane over there and I see everybody going 80, 85 miles an hour, and I'm sitting there going 65 miles an hour because I like to save some money on some gas and it's better for the economy, but yet I'm getting passed by everybody else. And then I look over at them almost smugly being like, ha, you idiots over there, you're wasting your gas. You could get busted. I'm going to be over here just biding my time. I'm just going to be just fine here. It's like the tortoise in the hare race, except the moral of the story is you're not the tortoise that ends up winning. You're the tortoise that ends up being left behind and you lose big and everyone's laughing at you because you're like, oh, what'd you think? That just doing things the right way is going to get you to the finish line faster than anything else? And also, let's be very clear about this right way integrity thing. People were getting up in arms about me when I was saying that the integrities, I wasn't saying integrity's bad. People took that as, oh, John, you don't operate with integrity, then I will never do business with you. That's not the point. There's a difference between integrity when it comes to right and wrong and integrity when it comes to what has been designed and what the landscape of college athletics has decided what to do. The NCAA can throw out all these rules and stuff, but folks, ask yourself, how many times has doing what the NCAA has allowed people to do, when has that ever panned out in a good way? When has that ever worked out? These teams that bent the rules that won championships, they didn't get punished for them. So what does it matter? If there's no consequences to the actions of the rules that have been set to place and nobody's following the rules, then what's the point of you being the lone wolf in this whole thing? Also, I don't care what anybody says. You can talk about, we're doing things the right way here. I have a hard time believing that over in the basketball program with John Calipari and all these great players and talent that he's getting, that he is operating under less circumstances than these other schools across the country. That he's just over here balling on a budget, with this couple $1 million here and there, and he's getting all these players and all this talent and making all of this work, while all these other schools are spending tens of millions of dollars for their roster, and he's just sitting back being great because he's John Calipari. I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that Dave Van Horn in the baseball program are getting all of this great talent for free 99. Meanwhile, Tennessee and Georgia and all these other SEC baseball schools are having to pay out the wazoo, and Arkansas is just the smart ones, and they're not having to pay a dime. I don't buy that. I don't buy it. If you want to be able to get to that level, you have to play the game that's been established. Period. And you can talk about integrity. And yes, I want to have things operate with integrity. But it's also a matter of when you have everyone else around you doing it a certain way, and you're getting passed, and you're getting left behind, that's going to do more irreparable damage than you trying to keep up. And you have done things to handcuff yourself. So I don't even want to hear about, oh, poor little Arkansas. You have done things to yourself. You handcuffed yourself by being anti-NIL. You handcuffed yourself by coming out and being very much against collectives. You've handcuffed yourself and by basically making public statements about, hey, we're broke over here, which is sending a message to everybody out there to say, hey, don't go to Arkansas because they have no money. So it sends a horrible message to any potential recruits. You have an open lawsuit, last time I checked, against a current college football player with the Madden kid over at UCLA. You can't get the naming rights. You can't get anything to get going as far as getting any major donations. You're raising the prices on everything. So you tell me, how are people supposed to believe, the people that are paying their hard-earned money into the Razorback Foundation and everything, not the billions of dollars that you think the Waltons and everybody give, but I'm talking about the common fan, the common family that are probably spending more than they should just because they love the Razorbacks and they want to have a good time at games. What are you doing for them? Because what you're telling them basically is that, hey, give us all your money, but it won't matter in the end because we can't do anything with it. We're going to do things the right way here. It won't lead to any championships, but we're just going to hope and pray and wait until everybody else has to come back down and do it the right way like we're doing it. That's a loser mentality. And you can talk about doing things the right way and everything, and that's fine. I want to win. That's what I want. And if you think that anybody in college sports, but especially college football over the past 20 to 30 years, anybody that's won anything at high level did it without breaking a few rules, without pushing boundaries, without doing things to bypass the rules in place, then I don't know what you're expecting. And yes, folks, Arkansas has been one of those teams that have done it before. I know you may think Arkansas is squeaky clean across the board. They're not. They're not. These are the things you have to do. It's just a matter of how far do you push it? How far do you go with it? And I just do not like having an athletic department that sits back and says, we can't set ourselves up to win a championship in football financially, yet we're not going to do the things that we need to do on this side to get to that level. We're not going to go in this third lane over here because we want to do things with integrity. That's how we operate. Great. Meanwhile, Missouri and Ole Miss and South Carolina and Vanderbilt are waving at you with their money bags in their trunk while you're sitting back going to the Liberty Bowl. Great. That makes me feel so good. Makes me have so much confidence that everybody's being set up for success in this athletic department. It's just a bummer. It's an absolute bummer. I want to win just like everybody else. And of course, you want to do it in the best way possible. I'm not arguing that. But again, if everyone else is doing it with no consequence, maybe you do need to look at that third lane and say, all right, let's do this. But you can't wait too late, because the longer you wait, the more the fans you lose, the more the winning you could miss out on, and the more that gap that you talk about separates yourself from being a good, great, fun to watch, talented, interesting, proud football program. You cannot have that mentality and expect to succeed, and I'm sorry to say, but you just can't. You never have, and you never will. One thing that Sam Pittman did talk about, though, in his press conference yesterday is his answer to fixing the problems with the secondary. Had something fascinating to say. We'll get into that next, so stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, college football is back. I tell you, nobody could be more excited than us here at Locked On Razorbacks. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's really nothing like it. But let's be real about this. Actually, getting tickets can feel more like a battle within the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping out at checkout. It's annoying. But that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives advantage back to all the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees whatsoever. What you see is what you pay. Anytime that you pull up the Game Time app in just a couple of taps, you're going to see some amazing deals. I mean, you're talking about Razorback football tickets as low as $25 to some of these games. So if you're looking to try to do it, might as well do it now. Get after it. Especially since the app is super simple to use. I could even see the exact view from my seat before I bought. Honestly, it's cheaper, it's faster, it's less stressful than any other way that I've ever bought tickets, and you'll have the same experience. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Sam Pittman was asked about the secondary and asked about how they can fix the problems that they saw from this past weekend against Ole Miss, because it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. Pretty rough to see. Sam Pittman was pretty upset by it after the game, and he was still pretty upset by it in the second part of the press conference that we got to hear from him just yesterday. Here's what he had to say on fixing the problem itself.
Well, the double move is obviously a concern, and we're going to get that because it was successful for Ole Miss. Lining up correct, and we've got to be better coaching. You know, when you're checking to check, you can't make a guy travel. I mean, you just can't. And we did that down there on the goal line. Guys wide open, you know, and so we've got to do better there. Now, our whole key this week to me is go back a little bit more of the second half. It's hard to read alignments, eyes. You know, obviously you watch tape for a reason, and it's about cut splits. It's about who's on, who's off. It's about all these things in the secondary, what routes. So if you're changing late, you don't have your mind can't calculate all the things that you know. Here's a key here. Here's a key here. If you're just lining up before they say set hut, you're not getting all that pre-snap stuff that you need. And so we went a little bit in the second half. You know, 173 yards is still a lot of yards, but it sure as hell wasn't what it was the first half. And 10 points is a lot different than 31. And so if we'll allow them, play the play, make them make a play. You know, a lot of times guys have a blitz over here, they'll check, you'll check blitz to the other side. Something very simple like that than trying to change the way that we're trying to cover them. And so I think as much problem as it was stopping them personnel-wise, it was just as much problem of us getting in late calls and them not having an opportunity to calculate all the things that they learned through film study and practice.
Okay, so you can take that a few ways. I'm going to take it as maybe more of a positive, where it's a matter of working on that communication. It's a fixable thing. Just basing it on what Sam Pittman says. It's a fixable thing. And I could tell that Sam Pittman was frustrated by the coaching side of things. And it seemed like that and I'm not saying it was Travis Williams or if it was Marcus Woodson or maybe the whole collective staff, but it seemed like they had overcomplicated things there in the first half. And they said, hey, we got to start putting our guys in a better position to be successful. Just make it simple. Just make it simple. Don't overdo it. Don't get out of your checks. Find your man and guard him. You know, if you need to blitz, go blitz. If you need to drop back, drop back. Like just simplify it. Don't overdo it. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Stay at home, stay in your lanes, and get it done. And it did get better. Again, like he said, it wasn't perfect, but it did get better. And that's what's a frustrating thing, though, is like, you take away that second quarter, Arkansas is in a great position to win. And I even think, just based off of how Sam Pittman felt, there was probably a lot of confidence going into this game against Ole Miss that Arkansas was going to win, like from him. And I'm not just saying that because sound cliche, because like, oh, well, yeah, all coaches think. No, I truly think Sam Pittman's like, we got a game plan that we know is going to work and we're going to win this game. And when they didn't, especially in the way that they didn't, it may have been one of the most frustrating ways and frustrating things that Sam Pittman has had to experience, especially when he also went on to his press conference and said that he feels like this is the best team he's ever had since being at Arkansas. He said that. I hope he's right. He's still got 9 games in front of him, and I'm going to give him a chance to try to fix the problems, especially in the secondary. It doesn't get any easier. You got Memphis coming up, then Notre Dame. We'll see how it all plays out. But either way, I want to see how it plays out. I want to see if they fix the problems. I want to see how this offense continues to develop. And I want to see if they can really turn it around and have a great season this year. That's what I'm hoping for, at least at this point. But appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.